Hi everyone! Welcome to another episode of Nathan's 3D Factory. In this episode, we're going to do a continuation of the last one where I rigged up this spider. So, as you can see, I have these bones that are connected to the mesh. So, if I do a control tab, I go into my pose mode for my skeleton, right? And now, I can rotate it, do all this cool stuff. But you know what'd be really cooler is having a little bit more intuitive controls, right? So this would be something where maybe I could just grab something instead of having to rotate these all the time, and then just make them a little bit more user-friendly. So, and honestly, if we're all thinking about it, we're not going to want to go through and select each of these bones to go and rotate them all the time. So, what we can do is we can make an IK chain, right? So, to do that, I want to show you where we have our bone collection by going into here. So we have our default bones collection, similar to how we have our scene collection, right? So now we can add a new collection. This one I want to call IK. So now what I want to do is that I want to go into edit mode by pressing tab. There we go. And then I'm going to start with this tip right here. And now I'm just going to do Shift A. Oh, yes. I did not relocate the cursor, and so you see it went there, right? So what I want to do is I want to do Shift A. No, hello. Okay, Shift S. Cursor to selected. Shift A. Now we have it. And now I want to move this to the IK collection. Okay? And now I want to do the same thing here. Shift S. Cursor to selected. Shift A. Now I can also look at my bone characteristics on this as well. Let's see. Okay, so this one right here automatically went to IK, so that's good. So I'm not going to have to move it to it. And now if I do the same thing here, I'm going to do the same thing on all these. Where I'll do Shift S to relocate the cursor, and then Shift A to add the new bone. Shift S, Shift A. So I'll do this a few more times here. Oops. Hello. Okay. Okay, and so I'm just kind of tracking these as I'm going. Okay. And I want these at places where I think I'm going to be selecting the points, you know? Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, let's see. So I just have a few more that I'm doing here. And that's going to be a couple in. Now I can add more, but I think we get the general principle here. There we go. A little bit more. Okay, so now we have all those added. And now what I want to do is I want to I want to show you that we can turn off the bones collection. So it looks like that's the only one there. Okay, so let's see if we select everything here. Okay, you can see all the ones that I added that had the IK collection. Okay, I'm going to turn off that one for now. We're going to take all these bones and we're going to assign them to the bones collection. There we go. And now we can turn this one off. Sweet. And it looks like I missed that last one. So let's turn this one back on. We're going to move that one to IK. Okay, now let's see what happens there. Okay, there we go. Then this also gives me a good way to quality check all my stuff to make sure that I didn't miss any. And I think I got them all. We should have 2 IK bones on each of these now, which it looks like we do. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go into my pose mode by doing tab again. And so now you'll see that this turquoise illuminated bone right here is in the pose mode. If it were control tab, if it were everything being highlighted in orange, then we know in an object mode. Control tab, back in pose mode. So now I'm going to start constraining these. And we'll go to add bone constraint. And we want to do IK, or inverse kinematics. So what's going to happen there is that I'm going to control how this bone rotates with this bone right here. So we're going to go to target, object, and then because we have this in the armature, we're going to have this as the bone. Okay? Now you notice that everything's moving with it, right? So we don't want everything to move, we only want certain bones to go. So we're going to look at the chain length. So if we were to take just like 4 of these bones, then everything from here all the way back to here would move with this IK. Nothing else. If we were to take it back here, well, let's experiment with that, okay? So here's our bone. Chain length, we're going to take it from 0. Let's move it up here. 3, 4. So now, let's move that. And you'll notice that everything moves up to this right here. So if we take it further to here, then let's see what happens there. Okay? So now we have all that moving. So for right now, I'm going to keep it down at 4. Now this one is going to control what happens with this length right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing with the inverse kinematics. 2, 3. Okay, so that's going to be those 3. We're going to do the same thing with the eyedropper, and we're going to do this bone right here. And so now, this, we'll move this around now. So now, we have these 2 guys where they're moving in conjunction with each other. Right there. Pretty cool, isn't it? So now, I can actually turn off these bones right here by hiding those with this. So turn this off. Oops, that's the IK. We don't want to turn that one off. So now, it's a little less daunting with the skeleton right there. So now we have those. Okay, so let's turn this back on. So right here, this is something that sometimes you may have questions on. I know that sometimes I do. If I were to lengthen that IK chain to 7, let's see what happens here. Okay. So then that gives us the control to move this with the entire chain there. Okay. So we have that. So you do have your varying degrees of control that you can do with this. Depends on what you want to do with it. So kind of interesting how this works, isn't it? So this is all according to what kind of control you want. If you want the leg to stay in one direction, then you can have this set up so that this piece right here just controls kind of the direction of it with the IK. So, well, let's take this back down to 4 and let's see what happens, right? So, you have that. Then, look what happens if we do this, right? So if you want to constrain what your bones are going to be doing, you just want to have the direction being controlled by that, and you don't want to have that. You kind of want to have like a general direction with it. Then what you can do is take that to 7. And then it's not going to be bending in the wrong direction, right? Because take a look at that. It doesn't go in the wrong direction. It just ends up kind of constraining that bend there. So, varying degrees of control. Okay. So, anyway, so that is kind of like the idea that you get with doing your IKs. So we'll do the same thing here. And so we have a chain length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. We can do the same thing right here with the bone constraints, inverse kinematics. Okay. There we go. Okay, that bone will be our constraint. And we'll put this at, what do we say this was? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we'll put that at 6. All right. And then, same thing here. We'll do 4. So we'll just get this bone, inverse kinematics. Okay. Okay. This one will be 4. Pretty cool stuff, isn't it? So, anyway, I can do that with the rest of these, but I think I'll do those off camera so that we get kind of like the final result later on here. But this gives you the idea of what you do to get the IKs going. So that way you got more control on what these bones will do without having to do a whole lot of manual stuff. You know? So, pretty cool stuff, huh? So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And also put a like on this if you like the video. This really helps me grow. And make sure to share with your friends too. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Nathan's 3D Factory. Have a great day, everyone.